I think part of what makes architecture exciting is the like individuality and the like creativity that each person brings to it. And like that's part of school, is honing that design ability, right? So if we then took out the value of that, like what does architecture look like?
And then Adina just brought up the Sharon Sutton quote, which basically talks about a rethinking of the architectural education model so that it's not hero-based and it's a little bit more run like a nursing program, where there's a little bit more of a focus on service and collaboration, and there's a buildup of trust. I mean, I think that's one that's tied into that same sort of issue.
Like having architecture collaborate with other subjects. So having like different schools share resources or share subjects and classes, where you can like take classes in another school.
And the one thing I would say to also like kind of point about sharing amongst schools is also sharing amongst disciplines and outcomes too, is like, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, just like a high powered PC can do a lot of different things. Also 3D printers are used for a number of things. You know, you can have chemistry labs that want to have kind of like 3D printers and zoomed cutters. And I think that there's a really high potential to think about kind of how students amongst different disciplines, or kind of just in different pathways towards their ultimate education goals, design can really positively affect the built environment right now, that we have no way of both monetizing, but also even just coming up with some type of pipeline to like actually get young designers to intervene in their communities and have ways to make that better. We don't have a government right now that's going to say, let's pay a bunch of like young design students to make our schools safe.
If we're going to talk about this big idea about access and equity, where does it begin?
I do think it has to do with having more people at the, like more diverse voices at the table. Like we should be learning about redlining, because those are integral to understanding how we practice architecture. Like I'm sure there's racism even written within zoning. Like there's all these layers that we have to unlearn, right? But you need to know what to unlearn.
If we're talking about aesthetics, then that goes to history, and that means introducing different historical perspectives in different cultures and materials. And
I wonder if primary education and what happens before one reaches undergrad program is one very effective way to rethink the discipline.
How to think creatively just in general within our own schools. And that kind of also has to do with not only the programs that schools can provide, but also just the spatial qualities itself.
I do think that a lot of people decoupled formal considerations from social causes, social goods, kind of, in like larger projects about kind of like what utilities are. And so much of our design careers were decoupled from some like very material present concerns in the service of saying it's much easier to not worry about all of these things.
We assume that architecture can solve a lot of the things that we cope with, so we insert it to solve those problems. But maybe it needs to go alongside greater issues that we then advocate and stand for,